travel around the world, and one of your difficult jobs is to counter the BDS, or maybe counter Israel's policy with respect to the BDS, how to work on that. In a recent trip that I've been to UCLA, I've heard from Jewish students at Hillel, actually, that some of the BDS movement has actually, lost its power, and they felt that sometimes there's no need to be so how do you say that, aggressive with them, because the Israeli media actually does a service for them for bringing the issue all the time. And what do you think? Are we at the down? Are we at the end of this, or we still have a lot to fight? And what do you do in your position to counter that?
I think that the industry of lies, this is really our mission, to fight the industry of lies. The BDS is part of this industry of lies, and the industry of lies is using terminology such as human rights in order to do everything that is the opposite of human rights. When you're supporting terror organizations, when you're supporting powers that are empowering ideas like women have no rights, those are the things that we really need to fight, but from a very strange reason. Some liberal people are seeing themselves as people that actually, from very good intentions, by the way, I'm sure that part of it is from not having the real information of what is happening here. This is why I think, first of all, BDS is not about economic boycott, because Israel is flourishing, our economic system is flourishing. International investments in Israel, throughout those years that the BDS movement is active, the investments just doubled themselves. Our relations with Asia has grown, our relations now with Africa and South America. Everything really here, when it comes to the economic basis, is definitely being in another planet for the BDS. And you know something, as much as Israel is going to continue to be such an amazing country that brings basically solutions to the 21st century's problems, I'm sure that the economics will keep on growing and keep on flourishing. The real problem is the narrative.
I'm just making sure everybody knows what BDS is, right? Okay. For a minute I was like, maybe we're talking to ourselves here.
So the idea to boycott Israel has failed dramatically. It has failed during the 50s and the 60s with the Arab boycott, but it's definitely failing now. But the real problem is the fact that BDS is spreading lies about Israel. And this is our job and duty, to just fight those lies and tell out the truth. And I must say that the people here, they are so they're so faithful and loyal to the idea of telling the truth of this amazing place.
Hotovely, may I, since everybody here are reporters and media people and they need stories, would you kindly tell us of a story, something that happened through one of Israel's embassies or diplomatic missions around the world in the recent couple of months, that you can, take from your experience and tell us how did you, in your title, how did you counter that? What means could you have given the local ambassador or the local consul? Because sometimes as reporters, we hear from the local consuls that they don't have money, that they don't have budget to fight these things off. So how do you, day to day?
Definitely with technology, the money issue is important, it's always important, but today we have more tools to deliver messages. I think new media has done a dramatic change in the way we spread the truth. You gave me a challenge. I need to think about... תגידי לי בעברית רגע, איזה סוג של...
יש לך איזשהו אירוע מהתקופה האחרונה שאת זוכרת? מה עשיתם? איזו אפליקציה שהשתמשתם? איזה מהלך שעשיתם בקונסוליה מקומית? כדי באמת לתת את המענה המיידי.
I think that when it comes to the people on the ground that are doing our work in the foreign ministry, they have on a daily basis those kind of confrontation. I'm going to go in November to a campus tour in America. I'm going to be the first politician to do actually a campus tour.
A campus tour?
Duty. Yes.
So you have app or something that's going into a campus store in the States?
Yes, I'm going in November, and the idea is really to challenge all the myths around what is happening here. Because most of the time, let me give you my experience. The questions I've been asked are definitely being based on ignorance. People don't know how small this place is to begin with. People have this image that Israel is so big because it's a real big power, but it has nothing to do to the fact we're so small. People have no idea about the Palestinian history. One of the things I'm always surprised to realize that most of the people think there was a Palestinian state for many years and Israel just occupied a Palestinian state, which of course it's a big lie because there was never in history a Palestinian state, and there is a reason, because most of the people that call themselves today Palestinians, they came because of the Zionist movement, the people that came from all around the Arab world. I think one of the things I'm working on, and this is my big thing in the last 6 months, is the issue of UNRWA, the whole idea of the refugee issue. For many years, people are supporting the Palestinians. They're saying, okay, there is an issue of refugees, but when you think about the word refugees, those are people that the international law is defining them as people that were saved after a war. The war happened 70 years ago, and the reason it happened was because the Arab world refused to accept the idea of a partition plan. So they refused to have the idea of a Jewish state next to an Arab state, and now they would like to be a 5th generation of refugees. So we need to fight this narrative, because this narrative is really the obstacle to
but
peace.
if you talk about UN institutions, and I had a breaking story this week, but I would like to talk about it. But first, UNRWA. Is there any proceeding, or something on the grounds that you're doing to claim the UN to behave differently?
Yes, we are speaking to America and to all the other countries that are donating to UNRWA, because UNRWA doesn't stand alone. It's based on money that is funded from different countries, and we're asking them to reform the mandate of UNRWA. That's the idea.
To reform or to cancel?
No, to reform, because we don't think that UNRWA should be about refugees. If you want to bring humanitarian aid, you can bring humanitarian aid to whoever you want, as long as it doesn't deal with terror. This is also an important thing. We need to make sure that they're not supporting terrorism, not using their schools, like we saw in the last military operation of Israel in Gaza. They used the UNRWA schools in order to hide military abilities and
Would you wish the United States to behave with respect to UNRWA in a similar manner that they just announced a couple of days ago with respect to the Human Rights Council? I don't know. I'm sure everybody knows that the United States withdrawn from UNESCO. Sorry. Would you expect something similar on that front?
No, because the way we see it, we don't want to see chaos at those places where there were schools of UNRWA. We want to see schools that educate children to peace, and not to see children that are being educated on the idea that they need to go back to Tzfat, to Lod, to Akko, to Jerusalem, to all those places in Israel. This is what we would like to see. We want to see a reform in the textbooks. We want to see that those children are having the idea they're not living where they live, unless they want to live to a different place in the world. I'll give you a story. I was meeting my British colleague, and he was visiting a girls' school in Lebanon. And those young girls, I was asking him, where do you live?
Where?
בלבנון. הוא ביקר מחנה פליטים של אונר"א בלבנון.
In Lebanon.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was asking the young girls, where do you learn? Where are you from? And they said, we are from Tzfat. And he was quite shocked, because he said those girls have never been to Tzfat, they don't even know where it is, but they're being raised on the idea that they belong to Israel because they are refugees. I think those kind of things, they realize that this is absurd.
What concrete steps can Israel take with respect to UNRWA?
As I said, UNRWA is based on countries that are contributing their money to this organization. In order to make sure that the money will get to the right purpose, they need to change the idea. This is not a refugee area. This is not refugee school. This is not the word refugees shouldn't be related to UNRWA. That's the idea. We need to change the name, we need to change the concept.
I want to move to the Human Rights Council, which I just got confused because my mind is already there. They just issued a blacklist, and maybe you have seen the story in the last couple of days. They actually sent Bezeq, the Israeli biggest infrastructure company, a letter of they want to include Bezeq in their list of businesses that are working in the occupied territories, because Bezeq has infrastructures and has locations actually here in East Jerusalem and everywhere in the country. And Bezeq issued a fierce statement, but it actually took the Foreign Affairs Ministry by surprise. You didn't like it that much that the Bezeq CEO put that out there, because you were afraid for other companies to, do it the same, take it out publicly. So what do you think about human rights?
It's very clear that when you're using your organization as a political organization, you're losing your credibility. And what they're trying to do now is definitely not part of their political ability. When you're thinking about the Human Rights Council, what it was made for, it was about abolishing human rights around the world. So instead of taking this important role and actually go after places where you see that human rights are not being respected, they're going to Judea and Samaria, places where Jews and Arabs work together, and they want to harm that. Isn't it ridiculous? Think about it. Those people that are creating jobs to the Palestinians. The amazing thing, let me describe it this way. If those companies are not going to work in Judea and Samaria, Israel's economy, nothing's going to happen. But the Palestinians, where are they going to work? In the amazing economy and the industry they created? There is no Palestinian industry and Palestinian places to all the Palestinians who want to work. They want to work with Israel. They want to work in Israel because they know that the opportunities here are greater. Not corruption, like in the Palestinian Authority. Not this horrible idea of taking international funds and actually sponsoring terrorist families as part of their budget. Those are the things that are happening at the Palestinian Authority. So how exactly do they help to the future of the Palestinians when they are harming their economy?
As we all know, human rights is just a fake name for an organization that doesn't do human rights. But does it serve Israel to ignore it, or should Israel respond to whatever they're doing? Maybe should Israel put forward a request to change its name to?
We're not ignoring anything. We're definitely active, but there are many ways to be active. I just want to mention that the United States of America really doesn't like the fact that the UN is using all his power in order to, time after time, go against one small, very successful, democratic, vibrant democracy that we have here, that is Israel. I really think we're not ignoring, and we're very active about this issue.
I just want to ask you a little bit of your, place in the Likud. You are younger than the most. You are more ultra-orthodox than most.
That is absolutely.
You encountered in your personal life a lot of. You were chairwoman. For you who don't know, Mrs. Hotovely was the chairwoman of the Committee for Gender Equality. As a political person, how do you handle the difficult life that we live in? That you have to be both ultra-orthodox and a woman in a men's world.
I must say that being ultra-orthodox is definitely a benefit in my world, and I will share with you all the benefits that it brings. The only challenge I really have is not seeing my two little girls. So this is really the only challenge.
What is the challenge? I'm sorry.
Not seeing my two little girls as a mother. This is really the biggest challenge I experience in politics. The fact that it has long hours, long traveling, and this is part of...
But we see through your Facebook page that you take them along on your Far East trip, or at least some of them, and
tried once.
Bring along the father as well to help.
I took them once to Vietnam, and we call it the Second Vietnam War. So So we didn't try that since then, and now we have two. When I took my girl, it was just one, and it was very easy, and now they have their kindergartens and everything. So, but I want to touch this point of being ultra-Orthodox. Let me share with you a political moment that we saw yesterday. The chairman of Labour Party, for many years, the secular left-wing party in Israel, is now trying to change and reform the party. And one of the things he's bringing to his conferences is rabbis to speak before the conference starts. And this is something that is very common in the Likud. You speak, you quote things from the Bible. You're speaking about the Jewish holidays. This is something that's very common in Likud conferences, where I'm coming from. And now this labor leader that used to be part of the Likud party is trying to bring this environment to Labour Party. And people are quite shocked, because they're saying, where are you taking us to? And he says that this is where the future of Israel is going.
Are you joining the Labour?
No.
Do we have a headline here? Because we're talking about him, and I'm just like,
Let me explain.
Maybe you are in your way over there.
Let me explain. What I'm trying to say is that people now understand, from Labour Party, from middle parties like LP, that the future of Israel is based on identity. And the future of Israel is based on being tied to the Jewish heritage. And people that are trying to create, as I'm always saying, we're not Australia or America that speaks Hebrew. We definitely are part of the Western society, but we have our added value as a Jewish society. We have our Jewish values, we have our Jewish moralities, and it's all based on the Jewish heritage. And people that are trying to disconnect themselves from this are losing the people of Israel. This is why all the people today are trying to become as if they were religious, traditional, all those words, in order to win the voters. But I still think the voters are going to go to the source.
I think we're going to finish it with one more question, and I'm going to try to squeeze in something more political as well. Maybe I'll get a headline. So I'm hearing from you appreciation to the Labour Party. It's good that you entered, Mr. Bar, because she was just hailing and praising the Labour new chairman.
All I said
almost joining into the Labour. She said he bringing in rabbis.
Look at fake news at the moment. This is what is happening here.
But my question to you, we are not fake news, we're face news. No, just kidding. Everything is on Facebook these days. But my question to you, would you envision, and just please take aside for a minute your Prime Minister, just let's talk about you. Would you want and would you envision for the next Knesset, the 21st Knesset, which we don't know yet, probably going to start off on 2015, for the Likud and the Labour to sit together after so many years of rift and fights? Is it something that you think that is possible?
If
Give me a headline, please.
If Labour Party is adopting our values, of course we'll be happy to share with them a government. But this means they're not Labour anymore, and they're in quite of identity crisis. So I think that it's serious, but I think that it's a good thing that your chairman is saying that he's not going to take settlers from Judea and Samaria, from the place where the Jewish history is. I'm very happy that you're bringing more tradition to your party. The only thing is, he needs to change also the MKs in order to have them fit to this whole agenda.
Change the voters.
But this is a different story.
Then change the voters.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hotovely, for joining us this morning. Quite interesting stuff.